Lauren Winkler. I am the Senior Director of ESG with the Green Cities Company. What I love about the Green Cities Company is our focus is across the United States, specifically in multifamily. So we have assets from coast to coast, and we have a deep development history, which means that we have a fully integrated in-house expertise through acquisition, asset management, design, development, investment management. So we can really bring together all of the best parts of our history to deliver values for our investors. Being the Senior Director of ESG for the Green Cities Company is particularly attractive because ESG is really integrated in that whole ecosystem that I just outlined. We developed a robust proprietary metric called the Green Cities Index to encapsulate all of the work that we do around ESG and how we drive value for our investors while also supporting communities and our tenants and making greener, more sustainable, healthier buildings. The pillars look at factors such as the environmental impact, climate change mitigation, resilience, and that's for both the building as well as the tenants inside, tenant health and well-being, and we take that to a really deep, very thoughtful depth, encapsulating things like biophilic design and the tenant experience physically and emotionally, and equitable communities so that we can think what our responsibility is as an asset owner to connect tenants and communities. So the great thing about the Green Cities Company is that connection between the 5 pillars of impact through our Green Cities Index and the way that we think about ESG being completely integrated and supportive of our investment strategy. Decarbonization is really fully integrated in our investment approach, both from the aspect that we fully believe it drives value and also through the environmental impact and climate change mitigation and tenant health and well-being pillars of our own Green Cities Index. So for us, it's really a very methodical approach. We, on an asset-by-asset basis, starting before acquisition, are always looking at the decarbonization opportunities for every building. And whether it's an existing structure and we're looking to integrate decarbonization along with our value add retrofit approach, or in new development, there's always an opportunity to use our distinct playbook around achieving significant reductions in carbon to work with that particular property in that particular situation. So that means that we need to take into account things like the geography of the asset. If it's an existing building, what's the age of the equipment? What's the accessibility of the building systems? Is it a centralized building or a decentralized building? What sort of decarbonization has been done on the asset to date? And what are, within the bounds of our fiduciary obligation, what are the opportunities to continue to drive further carbon reductions? So I think it's really important that you use these tools, and I would encourage any investment manager to have their own playbook. For us, we're able to really leverage our own in-house expertise, given our deep development background, to come up with a specific climate action plan for each property, so that we know we're leveraging financially sound strategies that also are aimed at genuinely taking out carbon from the emissions profile of these buildings or avoiding carbon wherever we can. So we're always taking an offsets last sort of approach, where the emphasis is truly carbon reduction. And we hope that creating business plans and thinking through a pro forma where you actually have decarbonization thought of from the very beginning, integrated through the value creation ability of the investment, is a great way to drive not only sustainable value for our investors, but a more sustainable atmosphere for the property itself. What's really an amazing opportunity about the real estate investment sector is that, everybody knows the statistic about real estate being accountable for 40% of global GHG emissions. I mean, that's a challenge for sure, but at Green Cities, we recognize that that's also a really big opportunity. And anywhere that you can be methodical about it, make sure that you have a really repeatable approach and that you have the discipline and the integration around it, just like honestly any ESG factor. We recognize then that we can be able to drive value and sustainability hand in hand. So when we look at decarbonization and the built environment, obviously we're focused on this sort of scope 2 emissions profile. Where can we achieve operational efficiencies? Where is there a retrofit that we can do on things like low flow fixtures or LED lighting to be able to bring in reduced energy cost as well as a reduced energy emissions profile? We're also going to be looking at scope 1 opportunities. So that's direct emissions from the property itself. Are there opportunities to replace old systems, to electrify the building, to bring in renewable power either on site or through power purchase agreements that are off-site? So there's really a lot of opportunities for an existing structure in both scope 1 and scope 2 decarbonization. What we get really excited about going forward too is in the development of a new building, how you can really bring in that scope 3 and embodied carbon, and to think through intentionality in your design, to really think about the materials that you're using, and that's both construction materials as well as interior finishings, FF&E. We're part of a number of industry organizations where we're really trying to lead the conversation around getting more informed, better details around the carbon footprints and the embodied carbon in all of these materials. So that's really important to new development and the ability to decarbonize, and then to bring it all together just like you would with an existing structure to have a really definite climate action plan. So we've come up with our own phrase, trademarked unfortunately for all of you out there, but we're excited about really having something, like I said, that is repeatable, that honestly we can operate with transparency around all the ways in which we're seeking to actively decarbonize. So we call it decarb, with the D standing for defined specific parameters, the E standing for evaluation with regularity and precision, C, making sure that all of these measures are cost effective and returns driven. We put our investors first. A, asset specific. R, repeatable throughout the portfolio, regardless of the location, the type of structure, mid-rise, high-rise, whatever it may be. And then B, it's got to be bold. Let's, as an industry, come together, set new standards. Now, I always say the best thing that could happen is for others to come steal our ideas and make them better, because that just pushes us to continue to innovate. And we should never stop as an industry with the level of decarbonization we have. We should never settle for an offset-driven kind of approach. It is within our power to make the change here, and our decarb approach hopefully is going to inspire others to do just that. What's truly, I think, unique about decarbonization in the conversation that it's driving within the industry is that it's shining a light on the value that a focus on ESG can bring to the investment strategies of the real estate sector. So when we think about driving value, efficiencies in operation is not just a reduction in your scope 2 GHG emissions. That's a reduction in your overall operational costs. That's driving NOI. That's driving stronger cash flows. There's been a lot of research, and I fully expect that this is only going to continue into the premium value that green buildings are getting, or even I saw something recently in Europe. A large advisory firm was projecting up to a 20% decrease in valuation, that brown discount for a building that is not operating with that efficiency and that sustainability in mind relative to a greener property. Here in the US, there have been analyses done that LEED certified office buildings at disposition can get an average an 11% premium. Multifamily properties that are LEED certified have been shown to have, again, a 9% rent premium. And I think most importantly, a lot of us have our heat maps where we talk about our investment strategies. Green Cities is nationwide, but we're really targeted in the geographies that we choose to look at potential investment opportunities. And part of that is because the particular tenant in those areas is demanding the kind of property that we like to add our value to. So we can't really rule out the demand of the future resident in a multifamily property in making these decarbonization strategies truly valuable. People want to live in cleaner, healthier buildings, and that means a resultant increase in rent premiums for us as a manager. It means higher tenant retention, stronger loyalty, better brand recognition. I mean, all of these are sort of knock-on effects that sort of as we do this more and as it's picked up more throughout the industry, we're going to just continue to have more and more examples of direct value add from decarbonization strategies. And that's not even taking into account the regulatory environment. When you think about how that has proliferated throughout, again, a lot of these cities where we're focused on there really being actionable and exciting investment opportunity, you're being supported by that tenant demand and that behavior of the current section of people going into multifamily properties, regulatory environment, and ultimately it's just creating greater value. So there's a lot of talk about the sustainability value of what decarbonization can do. I say the sustainability value and the investment value is one and the same.